When I was in high school I had a part-time job working at a local restaurant. One day I came in and was scheduled to wash dishes. No big deal. I walked into the back and came to find out that the morning shift did not have a dishwasher, therefore there was a mountain of dishes. No bueno. On top of all of that, we got slammed that night. As a minor, I was required to take a 30-minute break in order to work my full shift, 4 to 10 PM I believe. As I clocked out for my break I asked my manager if she could have someone cover my position while I was on break to prevent an even worse situation than was already at hand. She responded, "Won't be able to, you'll just have to stay late and finish it." An important thing to keep in mind is that this manager was notoriously lazy and unhelpful. She never lended a helping hand to get things done faster. She would rather stay 3 hours past close sitting in the office waiting for us to finish our closing duties instead of coming out and helping and getting everything done in a timely manner. She also was not very familiar with child labor laws in Ohio. Since I was a minor, not only did I have to take a 30-minute break, I also could not work past 11 PM on school nights. So after clocking back in from my break, I resumed washing the mountain of dishes that had accumulated. I took my time and didn't rush to get everything cleaned, but also wasn't going extremely slow on purpose. 10:59 rolls around, and I walk into the office to tell her that I'm leaving. She asked, "Got everything done?" "Nope," I said. "It's a Wednesday night. Can't work past 11 PM. Labor laws. I left the water turned on for you. There's still a lot left." The look on her face was priceless. I clocked out with the biggest smile on my face, knowing that she was going to have to leave the office and do something for once. Asked another manager the next day to see what time she clocked out, 1:15 AM. Bit of setup first. A couple of months ago I was doing summit support for a country music concert. The concert was out in a big, for lack of a better term, field, and the venue wanted to be able to take credit cards in the middle of this field. There are no cell towers around, so the typical square devices wouldn't work unless connected to a Wi-Fi network. Here's where I come in. This Wi-Fi network was also in use by the stagehands, producers, support staff, and the artists, so it got a little congested at times. I told everyone up front we were prioritizing CC transactions and to just deal with it. Most everyone understood, but some of the artists were prissy prima donnas. I had been up since roughly 4 AM because I had to vacate my dwelling for an artist. I was staying on site for the event after having gone to bed around midnight. I had been at this venue all week setting things up and was not in a good mood anyway. All day we had issue with our network because we had almost 10,000 people around and things kept getting congested or broken. Onto the MC, finally. Fast forward to about 9:30 PM, I get this call over the radio that says internet is down at the artist tent, so I respond and head over there. Keep in mind, I'm wearing just a t-shirt and jeans, not advertising the venue or the event. Learned my lesson after a previous event, but I do have a radio, so I'm somewhat official. I pull up outside the tent with my 4-wheel and trailer attached because I was helping the trash guys get some of the place cleaned up. I had been over 90 degrees F, and I had been outside all day. I'm tired, cranky, hot, burnt, and generally not a nice person. At this point, I walk into the tent and I hear this voice from the other side of the tent say, "If you don't leave, I'm calling security." I turn around thinking the person is talking to someone else, and the artist points at me and says again, "If you don't leave, I'm calling security." I said, "Go ahead, just quit complaining about your internet being down." He backpedaled pretty quickly and said, "Oh, you're the internet guys? You can stay." I wasn't having a good day, see earlier, hot, tired, etc. So I said, "No, call security. I wanna see what happens." Then I turned around and started fixing the issue. Pretty soon this other person walks in and says, "Mr. Brown, is there an issue?" And the artist pointed at me. Security guy looks my way, says, "That's your issue." The artist nodded, and the security guy said, "Good luck with that," turned around and left. Norway just made this ridiculous rule about how to dispose of your garbage. It's supposed to be in a clear bag. However, the actual text only states that black bags will be turned back. The garbage PPL hadn't been to my house for 2 weeks and claimed I should be okay with dropping the excess garbage off, even though I only had black bags at my house. When I arrived at the dump, they turned me back and claimed that they wouldn't honor what the government agency had promised over the phone. I asked to get the exact wording of the new law, and it stated as I said above, no black bags allowed. That's it. So I went and did what any sane person would do. Got stark solid non-see-through white bags and filled my crap within. Went back and, when they tried to protest, I made them read through their own crap pamphlet and then enjoyed to throw my non-see-through bags in their trash bins. I plan on continuation of this tactic. Write a vague law, so you can force us to buy new bags that's trash place approved. Enjoy your otherwise colored bags that are no better. I work at my college library as their student assistant for the computer lab. I pretty much make sure the computers work and help people in any way I can. An old lady who we will call Miss Sweet, not actual name, is deaf and usually wants us to copy and print slips of paper detailing basic sign language for her to hand out around the campus and nursery home. I love it when she stops by, and she is a very nice lady. We usually communicate through writing, and honestly it's really cool learning about how she functions without the main way of communicating that we all use. We have recently set a page limit of 50 pages per person a day, but she usually needs around 150 to 200 pages. She has offered to pay for the ink and paper, but the limit decided by people far beyond my boss, so we can't make any exceptions without getting the approval of people who would rather ignore us. After a bit of brainstorming I realized I could use myself to push the limit to 100 and talked one of my co-workers into using her pages to reach the total 150 that we needed. Once Miss Sweet realized she was getting her 150 pages, she thankfully shook my hand and gave me finger guns, something between us as our way of saying good job and thank you. I worked at a golf course for a while. One day I was out weed eating and came across a yellow jacket nest. Fortunately the first ones to come out just happened to hit my string, so I saw them before they could get to me. I stood there for a while with my string spinning over the opening. Not a single one made it out crawling or flying. Then the superintendent of the golf course came up to me and started yelling at me for staying there too long. Normally I would shut off my weed eater when he got my attention, but I wasn't about to let them out. I pointed to the opening and the bisected yellow jackets flying around the place and told him I couldn't move until they stopped coming out. He yelled back, "Get this area done in 15 minutes or you'll be coming in Sunday to stir the compost pile." I just said okay, backed up as fast as possible, took a few stings and bites, but since at that point he was closer to the hole he got the worst of it. Nearly hit 3 golf carts after he got back into his utility cart and sped off, and when I finished up and got back to the shop he called me into his office to yell at me. He wasn't going to fire me. He's the type who will give you the worst jobs until you quit, so you can't claim unemployment, and he said he was going to knock me down to minimum wage. At that time I was only 10 cents above minimum wage, so not much of a threat. I would be coming in every Sunday to stir the compost, and he'd figure out how to deal with the overtime issue later. I calmly reminded him that if the Sundays took me above the 40-hour mark, the only way he would be able to legally avoid paying me overtime would be to give me time off throughout the week to keep me at or below 40 hours. Then I reminded him that not a single yellow jacket had made it out until he demanded that I move on. They only got out to attack after I followed orders that he had issued, after he clearly saw that there were yellow jackets trying to leave the nest. Then I asked him if he was going to report the injuries I sustained as a result of his orders to security. All injuries had to be reported to security, no matter how minor, but we usually just let mild cuts and stings that didn't cause an allergic reaction slide, or if it was my responsibility to do so. I wasn't actually worried about the stings. I had gotten worse from larger nests at my brother's house than I did at work with no ill effects. But when dealing with someone like this, you pretty much have to point out all of your missile silos, so to speak. He was never the type to admit when he was wrong, and that didn't change that day. He still acted like I was solely responsible for both of our stings, but he just sent me on to my next tasks to learning 10 cents above minimum wage, and I still had some days off. Some edit. I forgot that yellow jacket might only be local to the US and Canada, so I didn't think to explain what they are. They're small, incredibly aggressive wasps. I've worked around numerous wasp nests and the wasps just go on about their business, but I have yet to even walk near a yellow jacket nest without them going into defensive mode. In hindsight, I probably should have reported the stings, particularly since I found out just tonight, while researching whether they're hornets or wasps, that they can carry some pretty nasty bacteria that can take you down, even if the venom doesn't impact you. But this was back in 2008. At this point it's far too late to report it. In fact, I had forgotten about it until I watched a video of a guy digging up a yellow jacket nest. Once it reminded me of my own encounter over a decade ago. I decided to post it here to see what happened. Thank you for watching. Slap that like button and comment your opinion on these stories below. I'm waiting. Write that comment. Seriously. Have you written it yet? If you don't comment, you make a bunny cry somewhere. You're not that kind of person, I know. Anyways, peace out and catch you tomorrow.